So many churches are investing valuable church budget into their website, but they don't see results because people can't find the website, whether it's a difficult to spell name or more likely, you're not even showing up on the top spot or first page of Google. Your website is not useful. It's not an asset for your church, and it's a bad investment if people cannot find it. So, in today's episode, I'm going to show you how your local church can not only show up in Google, but be in the top spot so people can find your church, plan a visit, and what I'm about to show you today works for even small churches. You can rank higher and be more visible than that big church down the street. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Best Known Church Show, where we show you how to 10x your reach with church marketing that will help you increase your impact, make more disciples, and become the cornerstone of your community again. This is for the leaders with an outrageous vision, because anything less would be an inaccurate reflection of our Creator. The ones who have unreasonable faith, because you know God works unreasonable miracles. And the ones who are relentless in the pursuit of your calling, because anything less would not make a good and faithful servant. If that's you, you're in the right place. Now, please welcome your host and guide on this journey to become the best known organization in your community, Justin Nava.
Welcome to the Best Known Church Show. My name is Justin, and if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, hey, you're noticing I'm in a different spot. I look a lot different. That's because our house is still under repair. We thought we were going to be in, but of course, you make plans. What's the phrase? God laughs. Welcome to the Best Known Church Show. Nothing's going to stop me from getting to you and showing you how you can reach more people, become the best known organization in your community, become a cornerstone, a mainstay, the go-to resource in your community. And a big part of that is going to be your website. And a big part of that is going to make sure that your website is discoverable, it's visible. To use an even layman's term, it's findable, okay? You used to hear a lot, and you may still hear it a lot. The website is the new front door of the church. That was absolutely true, but I'm gonna tell you it's not anymore, okay? The front door of your church is the entry point. It's what I see from the curb, and it's the first thing I go through to join your journey or include you in my spiritual journey. That used to be the case. That is no longer the case. Why? Because now when people want to find a church, they go to Google, okay? They're going to think of who they know. If they don't know anyone, they're going to ask friends and family. And if they don't know anyone, they're going to go to Google. And unfortunately, in today's culture, step two, friends and family, are often more often than not, unfortunately, not a possibility. So more and more people are going to Google, which means Google is the front door. It is the first step towards engaging your church. And if you're not there, all right, you don't have a front door, right? So in order for me to go to your house, I have to know where it is. I have to be able to find it on the street. And if I don't see your front door, then I can't go into your house. So nowadays, the website is more like the foyer. I've engaged with your church. I've taken a first step, which is that first step online is going to be clicking through to your website or clicking through to your Google business profile, which we'll talk about in today's show. And then once I'm in the foyer, that's when you show me around. Here's the restroom, here's the kitchen, here's the living room, here's the bedroom, whatever it is. That's where you show me around. That's what your website is doing. It's guiding me through your church. And so Google is now your front door. And when I say Google, I'm also talking about Bing, Yahoo, whatever people are using, Siri. Sorry if I set that off for anyone. But that's what your new front door is. And so your website is useless if they cannot find you, okay? Your website is supposed to be visible wherever people are looking. So if you don't optimize your website and optimize your online presence, then people are going to totally not even ignore, they just won't even know you exist, okay? Your website is a road. It's only useful if people are on it, right? So, you know, we would all get mad if our tax dollars got spent on a road out in the middle of nowhere that no one's using except maybe the people that live on that road, okay? We would be very upset if we constantly spent money maintaining, upkeeping, and building out that road for the same 10 or 20 families that live on that road, and no one else gets to use it, but we're paying for it. In the same way, your website, if it's only being used by your congregation, it probably isn't the best resource, because you are called to make disciples. Your church is equipped to go out into the community, and if your website is not an active part of that, then you are not using your dollars wisely. Now, there are elements of the website that are for the congregation. The congregation does need an online home, but for people that are looking for churches, if you want more people engaging with your church, not to put butts in seats, not to feel good about yourself, not to raise capital or money, if you want people engaging with your church so they can see Jesus, then keep watching. Okay, so your website is supposed to be discoverable. It's supposed to be your online headquarters. And if people can't find you, if people don't know, if people don't know how to find you, or if they're just looking for a church and you don't show up, then you don't exist. Okay. Not only that, websites used to just be a listing in Google. Nowadays, when you search for a website, you get lots of different opportunities. You get Google ads, which we'll talk about in 2 weeks, but you'll also get local Google listings, and then you get your websites. So you have to realize that even your website, while it's important, it's not the first thing people see. It's an advertisement, and then it's a local search, which we'll get into. Okay, so even if you're going to have a shot, it's no longer good enough to just be on the front page of Google. In fact, our clients are in 3 spots in Google. We're in the ad, we're in the local search results, and we're in the first page of Google, okay? Because you've got to be on top. Now, what do I mean by on top, okay? How do you get higher in Google? You use something called search engine optimization. Now, if you go Google search engine optimization services, you're going to find a lot of services from $10,000 to $50,000, because there's actually 2 different types of search engine optimization. Okay, and for short terms, to make things quicker, when I say SEO, that's short for search engine optimization. So when I say SEO, just remember ranking higher in Google, being able to be found in Google, okay? So if you go to talk to some agency or whatever, you'd say, we need an SEO package or something, you're gonna get a quote of about $10,000 to $50,000, because what a lot of people get wrong with SEO is they focus on ranking for keywords at a national level. And we don't often, I say we marketers don't even use the term national level, because if you're running a blog, if you're running a online store, if you're running a mini service-based businesses, you want to be found on a national level. But there's a secondary form of SEO called local SEO. Now that is focused not on, I don't care if someone in Delaware, I'm in Texas, I don't care if someone in Delaware searched for churches near me, I don't want my church showing up. I cannot serve that person. I want Delaware churches to show up in that person's search results. So we use local SEO, which is where your local ads, your local business profile, and your website shows up when people in your local area are searching for church, okay? It's a really great example. In fact, I'm going to try to show it to you with a screen share later on in the show. So if you're not watching on YouTube and Spotify, feel free to take a break here and go watch it on YouTube so you can see what I'm about to show you, okay? But that's what SEO is. It's ranking higher, which means being in a higher top spot in Google so more people can find you, all right? So I want to go into how people use or find churches on Google right now, okay? It used to be that if you searched for churches near me or church in Houston, Texas, you'd get a bunch of websites, okay? And possibly the top website would be Yelp, maybe Church Finder, something like that. But it used to just be a bunch of websites, and you can go through and click and find the website of the church that seemed to resonate the most with you, okay? That's how it used to be. Now we have local SEO, meaning that when I search for a local organization, local business, Google is going to show me local results. And this often comes in the form of a maps listing. So if you've ever searched for restaurants near me, or restaurants in Spring, Texas, or golfing in Houston, Texas, or maybe hotels in Katy, Texas, whatever it is, I'm a Texas boy, right? Forgive me. You will get local search results first. Okay, and what that comes up as is the Google Business Profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my screen here, and I'm going to try to share my screen so I can show you what that looks like. Houston, Texas churches. All right. So I think I have an ad blocker on, so we don't get the Google ads, but we get the sponsored here. That's sponsored means paid for, okay? So if I search for Houston, Texas churches, all right, you'll notice this top spot that shows up is places, okay? Now this is Google Business Profiles, right? You get these map listings essentially, and when I go through here, these are not websites, these are Google Business Profiles. When I click on dwelling place, looks like a very nice church. When I click on dwelling place, I can see their address, I can see their hours, I can see their phone number, and I can see reviews, okay? I could choose a church that I want to visit on Sunday just through this Google Business Profile, okay? If I look at Fallbrook Church, I guess it doesn't know where I'm in Houston, so it's giving me a whole bunch of different churches in the area. I can see the address, I can see when they're open, I can see the phone number, I can see questions and answers. Some of us don't even have questions and answers on our websites. And I can see reviews, okay? And we'll talk about the power of these reviews in a few weeks here. So if you're not already, like and subscribe this podcast or this show, this YouTube channel, wherever you're watching, so you can stay up to date on all the cool church marketing things that there are. So this is what shows up first. Then you get website listings, okay? And what's funny is like some of these websites aren't even like oh, okay, I see. It's a hotel thing. It's a hotel website, but it's listing the 15 best churches in Houston. Okay. So, and this happens anywhere, okay? Let's look in Temple, Texas churches. All right. Now we get ads, okay? And then we get local places, right? It looks a little different here. But we get local churches here. Temple Bible, Trinity, First Baptist of Temple, okay? Then we get websites. So when people are searching for churches, okay, get this. This places here, okay? This is where 44% of traffic shows up. Excuse me, clicks, okay? So if you can show up, if you can show up in this spot, you're in a good place to get more clicks, okay? And when I say clicks, I mean clicks to your website, which is the whole point of having a website, is to get people to click through to your website to see about your church. So if you're not in this top 3 spot and you can get in this top 3 spot, you can expect a larger number of people coming through to visit your website. Okay, so that's what it looks like now for people to plan a visit. They search for churches in Google and they click through those places first to see A, who's near them, B, who has the best pictures and who has the most information. That's usually the one that people will go to. In addition, who has the best reviews. And when I say reviews, I'll get into this in 3 weeks, I think it'll be on the show, episode 41. When I say reviews, I don't mean nice church, happy people, funny pastor. Everyone knows the pastor's wife wrote that review. I'm talking about reviews that say I once was lost, but now I'm found thanks to this church. Something that I can see someone's rescue, even if it's not a salvation story, but someone's story about how your church played a role in their life. That's so powerful. Okay, so those local places are Google Business Profiles. So you can go to google.com/business. You can claim your profile. If you don't want to go through all that, we claim it for you. And in that, you can have access to update that local listing. Now, if you Google your church, in fact, go ahead and Google your church right now. If you've never heard of Google Business Profiles, pause this episode and go Google your church. What you'll see is you probably already have a Google Business Profile, even though you've never done anything about it. Now, the reason for that is because Google is all-knowing, all-masterful with robots everywhere. They are constantly crawling the internet, and if they see a local business or local organization, they will automatically create a Google Business Profile for you and do their best by scanning your website to get the information, your phone number, your address, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they will do their best to set that up automatically. So if you look on Google and you're like, hey, I have a business profile here, I've never set that up, that's because Google did it for you automatically. The important thing is you claim that, because in the future, if you change your address, you change your phone number, that Google Business Profile may not update itself, and it's going to become even more difficult for you to claim down the road. When you claim your Google Business Profile, okay, just Google your church, In that Google business listing that shows up, if you don't see it, you may have to go into the Maps section of Google. You'll see a little button that says Own This Business, and you can click that, follow the instructions. You can get access to control that and manipulate the information however you want. And there are some optimizations that you can do, adding photos, obviously getting the time correct, your business hours, putting some FAQs in there, and of course, sending that review link to your congregation to leave meaningful reviews that show people you're a church on the move. So again, we can get an entire overview of what your church is about just through Google. We don't even need your website anymore. This is what I mean when I say Google is the front door of your church, no longer your website. So let me quickly go through how your church can be everywhere on Google, because in addition to your Google business profile, you need to be everywhere people are looking. This is why local SEO is so different from generic search engine optimization, because we're focused on those local results. We're focused on showing up wherever people are looking. Not only that, when your church is listed locally in multiple places, your listing can rank higher because more people are recommending you, right? You ever see those billboards, #1 recommended, #1 rated, that form of social proof? Google has something similar where they look at how many people are referring back to your website locally. And if those are trusted and authoritative sites, not just some scammy Chinese site or Russian, whoever, anyone else can be scammy. No scam artist, what would you call it? Prejudice here, right? Anyone can be a scam artist. You can't just go list your website on those websites and then expect Google to rank you. In fact, it'll do the opposite. It'll probably penalize you. But if you have trustworthy, authoritative sites listing your church, something like, for example, a good example, Yelp, right? That's an easy one. Then Google gets more positive signals saying, hey, this is obviously a local business. These people obviously mean business, and we should probably recommend them more because more people are talking about them. This is how the big churches get those top spots, because more people are just naturally talking about it. The more the church has going on, the more resources it has, the more programs it has, the more people are going to talk about it. This is the uphill battle we have to fight. But I'm going to share with you a great way that small churches can rise alongside those larger churches. A good example of what I'm talking about when I talk about being everywhere. Pastor called me, one of our clients, and said, you won't believe how someone found our church. And it was a direct result. I mean, there's no arguing that this was God working through our organization. Man didn't have a car ride and just felt the call to go to church. And he didn't trust anyone to take him to church, I guess. For whatever reason, he went to Uber to get a car to go to church. And instead of going to Google, like I said, most people do, instead of going to Yelp or Yellow Pages, he went directly to Uber and said church. I think he just typed the word church, right? And if you do that, our client's church shows up first. Our client's church of 125 people just shows up first. So click on that, Uber, take me there. Maybe he thought Uber wouldn't take him to any other church. I don't know. But he started in Uber, came there, met the pastor, shared his story, and pastor was like, you don't got to take Uber anymore. We'll get people to take you to church. And they did. They've been taking him to church, as far as I know, since then. This happened half a year ago, I think. So if they weren't listed in Uber, that man could have gone to another church. And this isn't to say that we're competing with other churches necessarily, but we are competing with other wolves in sheep's clothing, or if God forbid, that guy's went to a different language-speaking church, he would have felt out of place. He would have felt like an outsider, and potentially, that church might not have treated him well. And so it was totally a God thing that he came to this church via the work that we did to get him listed in Uber. So this is what I'm talking about. You want to be everywhere people are searching. We call these directory listings. You might also hear them just called listing, local listings, citations, citation development. There's a lot of jargon out there. I don't like jargon, so we're just going to call them directory listings. That's why these are so important, because the more places your church is listed online, the more ways people can find you. And just because you're listed in one place doesn't mean that I only search that one place to find you. There can be even more resources that pull information from that one place. For example, Nextdoor. You might get those mailers that say, check us out on Nextdoor, sign up for Nextdoor. Your neighbors aren't, I hate this. I'll never do this, but I got a mailer that said, hey, your neighbors are on Nextdoor and they wanted to invite you to join. And I joined next door, and like no one in our neighborhood was in there. And I was like, I feel scammed. Because I just got this thing, right? It's kind of like Neighbors, but it's Nextdoor. But if your church is listed in Nextdoor, anyone that happens to be using Nextdoor can use it. Or if something like the Echo, the Amazon Echo, or if someone like the Google Home Pod thing, if you ask them for a resource, it might check Nextdoor. If you ask him a question, it might check the information. You could ask, hey, what church is meeting at 11 o'clock on Sunday? Or what church meets after 10 a.m.? It may not check Google. It may not check Yelp. It may check Nextdoor. And a lot of other companies will double check Nextdoor to verify another listing, if that makes sense. So if your listings are the same everywhere, which they should be, then again, that increases your online authority, your online trustworthiness, and it allows you to be found wherever people are looking. Because I would have never assumed someone would just search for churches in Uber, but here we are. So where do you list your church? Number one, don't automatically go to church listings, okay? Church Angel, Church Finder, denominational websites, those are fine. But if you're listening to the show, you're a pastor, church leader who probably wants to grow their church and grow the kingdom, not just transplant saints around to different congregations. So yeah, being on those church directories is fine, but non-church people aren't going to check there. They're not going to think about it. They're going to look at the places they know. Google is one of them, which you have the Google Business Profile. Bing is another one, which there is a tool you can use to sync the two. So Google, you just do it once on Google and it reflects on Bing. Yelp, Yellow Pages, Nextdoor, Uber, Better Business Bureau is not a bad place. Your local chamber of commerce, any other local listings and resources, travel sites, blogs as well. You might contact a local blogger. There might be a local faith blogger. You can just say, hey, can you list our church as like a resource or something local? You know, find those local places where you can list your church using your exact name, your exact address, your exact phone number, so it matches everything else. There are some more advanced things like anchor text, linking, no follows, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about all that. You would let a pro worry about that. But once you have those, you have kind of like, it really does become an interweb, becomes a web of connectivity where if I see you on Google, I'm going to double check you on Yelp, I'm going to double check you on Facebook. And as long as your listing is the same everywhere, it develops trust. And this is how we get smaller churches to rank up alongside or even beyond larger churches in their community, because in order to rank higher than any other church, including the large ones, you have to do what they're not doing. And they are doing a lot. So you need to do just a little bit more, right? You need to be doing alt text tagging. You need to be doing schema markup. You need to be doing updating your Google Business Profile multiple times a week, right? You need to be consistent name, address, phone across everywhere. And if you make a change, it changes everywhere. You need to be maintaining your reviews. All of this combined into one ecosystem will help your church rank alongside or even beyond larger churches. We have a client church. They were 75 when we started. Last time we talked, they were around 130. I'm not saying that's all because of us. It's all because of God, but we play a part in a larger strategy for that church, growth strategy for that church. And one of the things they asked me was, how are we ranking higher than the church down the street? It is literally down the street, and that church is running about 1,000 to 1,500. Right? And so how is this church of sub 200 ranking higher? It's easy. We're doing more, okay? So if you want a ranking, you've heard that phrase. If you want what you've never had, you got to do what you've never done. If you want to go beyond what the top churches are doing and you want to be found more than they are, you have to do more than what they're doing. Because even if you're found, or excuse me, to be found, you have to be easy to find. I know that sounds simple, but sometimes we got to take it back to the basics, all right? If you want to be found, if you want to be visible, you have to do whatever it takes to be found and visible. Now, not only that, remember, this is part of a larger context. I'm terrible at pitching my own services. I'm better at helping my clients pitch theirs. But this is part of our definitive church marketing method, which we call Be Found, where we actually systematize this for you. We do all the setup, we claim it, business profile, we get all the directory listings in place, and then we monitor it, manage it, and do whatever it takes to get you ranking to the top spot. Like I said, we've got small churches outranking large as 10 times their size. And not only that, that, remember that just because you're found doesn't mean that people are automatically going to choose you. Your website needs to be compelling, your website needs to be welcoming, your website needs to be engaging, and most importantly, it needs to be inspiring. So your website needs to work in addition to this. If you're not sure your website works, if your website's outdated, or you don't know how to update it, or you don't know if people are using it, go to navachurchwebsite.com. Again, that's navachurchwebsite.com, and you can get our homepage framework. This is the same thing we use with our client churches to increase engagement, get more people calling the church, messaging the church, planning a visit with the church, and getting them in our nurture follow-up, which there's a little bit in there about that. So we can develop a relationship with them before they even step foot in the building. If that's something you want, go to navachurchwebsite.com. Look, you can spend money on a website, but it is useless and you're being a bad steward unless you do the extra work to make sure people can find it. One of the things we started doing last year is if you buy a website from Nava Church Marketing, you don't have to, but if you do, it's going to come with local SEO. It's going to come with the ability for you to be found. It's just bad. I wouldn't say it's bad business. I think it's actually better business to just sell a website. But honestly, it's useless for churches to buy a new website and not also get local SEO with it. And so one of the things that we do, I believe in this so much. I'm letting you know, you cannot, I will not build you a website unless we're also doing the be found. Okay, it's like planting a church and then not inviting anyone to it. Like, yeah, you have a church, but you're not going to grow it. You're not going to bring people into the congregation. You have to be able to invite people into the gathering, right? So that's kind of how that is. So I don't want to build your online HQ and then just wall it off somewhere in the corner. We want it to be found. And so that's why it's so important to me. And I appreciate you watching this. I know the audio is not great, the video is not great, but God is great. And I pray that this does something in your ministry. Like and subscribe to this show wherever it is. I know it's a short episode. I'm just weirdly located right now. But this is one of my favorite topics, is getting your church found so more people can plan a visit, more people can engage with you and start that relationship with you. I will see you guys next week. God bless.
That's going to do it for today's episode of the Best Known Church Show with Justin Nava. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest news, strategies, and resources that you need to reach 10x more people and become the best known in your community. To send us a message or leave a voicemail for Justin to be played on a future show, visit thebestknownchurchshow.com. And if you'd like to work with us so you can focus on your ministry, give us a call at 832-861-7654. Until next time, stay outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless.